You're listening to The Women in the Arena. I'm your host, Paige Rene, former collegiate athlete turned leadership entrepreneur for women just like you. Each week, I'm bringing you a new person or message to help you expand and elevate into the woman you know you're meant to be. Now, let's step into the arena. All right, you guys, we are back inside the Women in the Arena podcast, and I'm really excited for this week's guest interview. We are talking to my friend, Ulrika Belline, and she is the newest owner of CrossFit Commence, which is a community that is near and dear to her heart, of course, and mine as well. And so we're going to be talking all things balance with life and kids and CrossFit and business and also passions outside of all of that. And so thank you so much for being here, Ulrika.
Thanks for having me, Paige.
So first things first, let's just get into business. So it's been coming up on 8 months now. What's going on at CrossFit Commence?
Right. So it was a little bit of a fluke to start over from the beginning. It wasn't a planned purchase. I was fortunate enough to kind of just ask the previous owners one day if that was something that they had thought about. And they kind of raised their eyebrows and said, "To you?" And I said, "Yes." And that then took place last spring with the actual transfer of ownership right around June 1st. And since then, so we're at the very end of January, it's been a process. It was something that I wanted to accomplish when I went to college and graduate school. So it's been a hot second to realize that goal and dream of mine. And now we're rolling on a path, even though it's a little bumpy sometimes. And I can't quite get as much done as I think I'm going to. I feel like we're making progress and just moving in a direction that I'm happy with and excited about. And hopefully our community is that as well.
I did not know that was something that you had dreamed about or planned for that long. That's so exciting. What was it back then? Because I know your background in golf, but if you can share with us a little bit more, like how did you transition from golf to CrossFit, or how did those loves and passions merge?
Right. So I went to graduate school after graduating from Arizona State with the idea that I wanted to coach. My second goal at that time was to own a gym. And I went into fitness wellness management, and that was my graduate degree. And obviously, then I transitioned to coaching early on. But at that time, you kind of had to have a master's degree if you were fresh out of college to even remotely be on somebody's docket and for them to eye you as far as hiring. And I had a pretty impressive resume for then a 26-year. I turned 26 right before they hired me here at the university. And I came along family and children. It was really difficult, as I know you know, to balance both. And my kids were little, and we didn't have somebody that could help out full time for me to invest all of my time into coaching. And so I resigned after 6 full years of being the head coach, and then was home for a long time and sort of stumbled across CrossFit once in 2009, didn't like it at all, and came back after running my one and only, and it will be the only, half marathon in December of 2009, and started CrossFit in 2010.
Wow. And you are celebrating, what's it, 14 years?
It's 14 years since I started. Yeah, it's almost 14 years since I was certified. It'll be at 14 in September for the first time. And, you know, we have educational guidelines and standards to follow. But yeah, it's been a journey. It took a little bit, but now I'm an owner.
Yeah. And congratulations. I just think it's so aligned. It's one of those things that probably for you just felt so right. And I'm going to ask you a lot about that, but I cannot agree with you more when it comes to the half marathon. I did one of those. And for anybody listening, it's not about starting or stopping your fitness journey. It's like experimenting with it. The only rule is not to stop, but sometimes we modify and sometimes we adjust and sometimes we try something new. And so I just think it's really cool that you share kind of that background, because fitness has been a part of your life and will always be a part of your life. And so I want to go back to after 6 years when you had to step away or down or a little bit away from your dream, or maybe if it felt like you went on neutral for a little bit versus pushing the pedal forward. What was that transition like, and how did you cope with it? Did you think of it as, okay, this is just a season and I'll get back on track? Or tell us a little bit more about that, because I know me personally, this is in my 5-year plan and I'm like, how in the world am I going to manage this?
I didn't know what it was going to be like. Arkansas at the time was my dream job, and I was fortunate enough to get it. And my oldest, Britta, my daughter, was 10 months old when I stepped away. And it was right during 9/11 in 2001, 2002. And so the world was kind of upended and travel was difficult and all the things. And then again, we didn't have help. So I stepped down, never thinking that I was going to become one of those moms that stay home. It was a complete blessing. And I am still available as much as I can, although my kids are now older, right? My youngest is 16 and drives himself and all the things. But it definitely turned my world 180 degrees from where I expected to be to where I actually went. Balance is finding the time to spend on yourself when you have a family, which is really hard and it's difficult when the kids are little. And then knowing that you have dreams that you still want to accomplish. And if that's to be with your children, then that's awesome. But if you have other goals, to keep those within sight, at least so you remember that they're there.
Yeah, that is huge. Like just the vision piece in general that you just shared. It's part of the 6-step elevate framework that I teach. And it's the number one part is like staying true to that vision and just being able to reconnect with it, even if it feels like distance at first, right? It's like traveling from LA to New York. You don't necessarily know the exact path you're going to go. You just know that you're headed east. And I imagine that it feels like a longer path if you're home with your little ones and you're not sure what it's going to look like transitioning back. So take us there. Like, what was the transition back? When did you know, okay, I'm going to get back into, I don't know if real estate was next, or what was that back into the workforce after you felt like you could?
I got certified for coaching CrossFit in 2010. So then I was still technically a stay-at-home mom, but just to be able to step in when and if needed and if the opportunity arose. I did not go back to work full-time, so to speak, into real estate until 2013. Bowden was almost 7 at the time, so my youngest. And then it felt right. And it was something that was, obviously, it's a very people-oriented profession, and also flexibility in that you don't necessarily set your own hours, but you can practice where you want to practice and at your own pace, or pour as much of yourself into it as you want to, which then allowed me to still go pick up and drop off and take to activities and just kind of adjust my time. I became very effective at working a lot early in the morning. I like it that way. It allows me to do other things in the afternoon, but it also at that point allowed me to spend time with the kids and take them where they needed to be. Yeah. And from there, so I've been in real estate for 11 years. And then coach CrossFit, obviously part-time since then. I'm busy enough in real estate to the point where I want to be, but not so busy that I'm overwhelmed and going after cold calling all day long and going after clientele that I don't know, or I'm not that agent, which has allowed me to keep a balance and do other things.
Yeah, I think that's cool that you touched on the type of agent that you are, right? Because I think some people get into an industry or get into a workforce and they think it should look a certain way, and you can make it however you want to make it. I think that's really valuable for people to hear. This is a little bit of a plug for CrossFit, but I think a lot of people who aren't familiar with CrossFit feel intimidated at first. I mean, I was a collegiate athlete and I felt really intimidated before stepping into a gym. And so what is it about CrossFit that you feel like keeps you coming back and expands your passion? I mean, now it's obviously your business, but what is it about the sport that you love so much?
Truth be told, it's still intimidating. Even every day it's intimidating. However, knowing that everyone feels a little bit of that in the anticipation of competition, to me, and I know you earlier that I coached in golf, right? That is my other passion. CrossFit is very much like golf in that you're supposed to keep track of your score and then publish it, so to speak, on the whiteboard at the end, or record your score on the scoreboard at the golf course. And so to me, that was very appealing. The other part of of CrossFit is the community by far. I mean, you can't put a price tag on that or a value, but the friendships, obviously, like ours, my closest friends are all gym friends. I have other friends also, but definitely. And just, I'm a mother, right? I'm a nurturer. I like to look after people and it comes natural. And so I have to work on the business side, and the caretaking is a little bit easier. But that keeps me coming back. It makes me happy walking in there every day.
Yeah, I think it's cool too that you just know so much about who you are, as far as obviously who you are in real estate as an agent, but also who you are as a nurturing person, and knowing that those are your gifts and you want to use them in this way as a business owner to grow and cultivate the community. And then I hear you saying that it's just okay that the business part doesn't feel like the forte, but you trust yourself enough to learn it along the way. So what's been the biggest learning curve, or a couple that you want to touch on so far, going from, a coach to an owner?
So asking for help, not being afraid of asking for help from either people you know or people you trust, or somebody that has similar experience in the same field that you can draw from and bounce ideas of. And also having the patience to know, like day one, I thought I was going to know it all in 30 days. And when 30 days were up and I didn't, I was a little bit freaked out. Now I'm like, okay, I am never going to know it all, but I know far more than I did 8 months ago. And I had a chance to sit back and go, okay, it's okay that it doesn't all get taken care of on the day where I plan it. The world still goes around and we all wake up tomorrow. And people are not necessarily expecting you to have it all perfect in 5 minutes.
You guys, when I first started my entrepreneurial journey, I had very few examples of women in leadership positions. And sometimes when I shared what I was building with my friends or with my coworkers at the time, they just didn't really get it. Even when I wanted to create some new goals and talk about those ambitions, I didn't feel like I had a community of women to share that with, which is why I found an online community of other multi-passionate, like-minded women. If you can relate, join us in our Rise Facebook community, where you get free weekly coaching, a network of amazing women who are also in the arena, and you're the first to know about the latest offers. Women leaders rise together. See you inside our Rise Facebook community. You can find the link in the show notes. Yeah. And the gym is such a community, like CrossFit, means a lot to a lot of people. So when it means a lot to a lot of people, there's a lot of opinions. There's a lot of, you should do this or we shouldn't do this. I mean, I know that like from coaching in the CrossFit gym, I hear that at Commence. And so how do you manage all the different opinions, and how do you navigate that, amongst your own opinions on what should be done or what's best for the group?
So learning to listen to feedback, or being able to take feedback and set it aside and know that it's not a criticism of you. People have opinions. I have opinions about everyone and everything, but it doesn't mean that my opinion is right. And then trusting that what you want to accomplish supersedes what other people want you to accomplish. It's your dream. It's your job. It's your business. It's your investment. I mean, I bought it. I want it to be my income stream and be successful in the way of the community growing to where not necessarily just adding a bunch of people, but adding value to your life and everyone else who's in their life, so that it's somewhere you want to be. You want to come back, you want to get fit, but you also want to share social experiences and relationships and memories.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think it's cool too that, hey, my name's on this business. Of course, what I say is what goes, but I think you do it in a way where it comes across as, let me know what I can do for you. And also you're very collaborative and getting a lot of people's opinions, and it makes people feel heard. It makes people feel seen. And I think sometimes the hardest thing to learn is that And it can be frustrating at times, but nobody's going to care about it like you care about it because it's your baby. And I know that's hard sometimes for business owners too. It's, why can't you get on this idea or this project that I have, or why can't you execute it sooner? And you can't expect people to care for something the way you do when your name's on the business. And I think it's just so important that you share what you've shared about, hey, this is my investment and this is how I'm going to operate things.
I feel like I'm a steward of the amazing community that we have, right? We have some really, really cool people across the board. And I'm just fortunate enough to be the captain. That doesn't mean that I consider every piece mine, because it's not. It's something that we build as a group, but I own it. But it's not going to function without all the people that are there.
What's something that you learned that you didn't anticipate before going into ownership?
Credit card companies take big fees.
As far as the memberships, like when somebody pays for their membership?
I literally thought somebody stole money out of my bank account the first time it happened.
Oh my gosh.
I had no idea. I learned something new.
And if you're not there, you don't know. Like, how do you know that? It's not like in school, you know what you're going to eventually be doing. Like not always, most of the time, no.
Well, you pay for something and all you see is the price tag with the tax added, and you don't see the transition that goes on to move your money from your account to wherever it's going. So learning that process, learning the business and managing payroll and profit and loss statement and all the things. Real estate's pretty easy because it's just me for me. But this is a living, breathing organism, and there's a lot more variables to it.
Yeah. People, opinions, all the things to consider. What's been one of the most exciting things that you've been able to see? I know, like, again, it's been 8 months, which probably can feel like a long time when you're like, I should have it figured out in 30 days, but it can also feel like such a short period of time in the grand scheme of things. So what's been like one of the more fun projects or things you've seen come to fruition since taking ownership?
There's so many things. I feel like you're putting me on the spot now. I can't even pick something out, but there's so many things. And when something works, like just taking the bathrooms, so I know that's simple, but it's also very recent. To know that that was something that really mattered to me, because it's where everyone spends time in addition to the workout area, and to upgrade those a little bit, but it's rewarding. The other part of that's people oriented or people related is today we had somebody who's returning after 5 years of being gone from Commence, and they're coming back. And that to me is probably the most rewarding. That's exciting. And the students that come back year after year, even when they leave for summer, but I miss them when they leave, and I always have. But when they come back, it's like, yeah, our community is sort of complete. And that's a joy. That's not just a 5-minute happy fix. There's a lot of joy.
Yeah. And I think that things like even the bathroom, like as minimal as it sounds, if you're somebody in the community, it's like your house, you notice little differences, you notice little upgrades, and it makes a big difference as far as like your experience goes. And it shows, at least like from a member perspective, I imagine it shows like, oh, wow. Okay. Like she cares about us and our experience and showing up. And I think that's all really valuable. What would you say to somebody who is thinking about CrossFit, but has never been and maybe is considering, okay, maybe I'll go to Commence, but where do I even start? And what do I need to know? What would you say to somebody like that?
I think the hardest part is stepping foot in the building. If you come in, all of the people that work there are welcoming. And we all took that first step at some point, whether that was in Commence or somewhere else. We've all stepped through the door of a CrossFit gym and gone, oh my gosh, why am I here? I can't do any of these things. I don't know what it means. Never touched a barbell or whatever it may be. And if you just come in the door, we're going to love on you, and you're going to get fitter, and you'll get exposed to a bunch of fun things, and you'll find friends and get fitter, and we'll make you do things you may not like, but that are good for you. And we throw challenges at people, and the small wins in somebody that doesn't expect to win, so to speak, are the best ones, rather than the strongest that makes himself or herself even stronger. Right? It's really cool to watch somebody conquer something that they work on for a long time. That's their goal. They just reached their goal. So I think you step in the door, we'll take care of you to where you're going to have a different outlook on life, and be able to live your life fuller outside the gym building.
Yeah, absolutely. And we get to celebrate in people's wins, and you get other people celebrating in your wins. And I mean, it does feel really good, but your fitness community should be an outlet for like stress management and for feeling good. And it should be that piece of your day, and changing your environment and stepping into the gym is so powerful in that way. I mean, I know people that work out from home, and I can't imagine doing that all the time. I mean, I know COVID really shifted things for us, but being able to have that space where you change the environment and it asks you to show up in a different way. Speaking of that, when you took ownership, did you feel like you had to show up in a different kind of way? How did that elevate your growth?
So 2 ways. I feel like I spend more time there on location, checking on people, not necessarily increasing my coaching because I haven't, right? If anything else, it might even have gone the other way, but also the business side takes way more time than I anticipated. If I was the one coaching all the classes, the business side would suffer. But the other side of that, yeah, I'm on location more, but it pushed me. So CrossFit has levels of coaching, certifications, and educational experiences. And you have to be a level 1 coach to coach at any CrossFit gym, anywhere. There's then level 2, that's also a practical and written passage. And then L3 and level 4 are both either test or practical evaluation on a different location. It's a whole different ballgame. It would be like an L4 is probably like having a PhD in CrossFit, essentially. L3 is your master's degree, and then L1 and L2 are more like your bachelor's degree of CrossFit. I mean, that's an easy way to explain it. So I've been an L1 since 2010. Wanted to take my L2 in 2020 and then COVID. So it's easier to redo my L1. And so just completed the L2 here yesterday afternoon, officially, and actually almost started crying once it said that I had passed the exam. And I didn't realize that it had meant that much to me for that long, because it's something I've thought about for years. And it's one of those things that's, well, it's not my job, so I don't really need it. But now it's my living and investment and all those things, and I want it. And then it coincided, we got lucky and had several other coaches who needed to renew theirs. And so there's a group of us, but the sense of accomplishment is huge. And so now I want to go get my L3 sooner rather than later.
Oh yeah, that's really cool. You touched on little wins too, which I think is really important. It's what I talk about a lot with clients, and a lot of high achieving women is like, you think that the wins have to be big and they have to be like a PR, or it has to be, something flashy that you can post or you can share. And I think some of the most meaningful wins, the little wins equal big wins, the little wins over time. Like, one of my favorite accomplishments of 2023 was like getting a muscle up. And I just had this compilation of video from using bands. And I even remember feeling like one of the biggest accomplishments was like getting over the bar, even with the assistance of a band. And so it's like, there's so many little ladders along the way that help you build momentum. And that's what an environment like Commence does, is helps you along the way, helps you stack up those little wins, because eventually it does mean and lead to big wins. And I think that's what you're sharing too when it comes to the L2, which I didn't realize even the analogy you made about the bachelor's, master's, and PhD, but it just is so fitting.
I mean, the little wins are awesome. You watch somebody who thinks that they can't pick up 100 pounds, and to a lot of people that sounds like a tremendous amount. And so the day that happens, which we know that most people can if they're just taught how to hold it, it's fun. I mean, you get to celebrate other people's wins, and you can share your own. And it's a little bit like life, right? CrossFit's a little bit like life. You'll have frustrating days and really great days. And in the end, if you stay with it, you're going forward. You're progressing, you're getting stronger, you're more fit, you're able to do more in other areas of your life. You grow your own community, just your personal community, and you're a part of a greater organism, because I feel like the gym is a living, breathing thing and changes all the time, even though it stays constant in location and where we are and what it looks like and all those things. And it's so fun. I mean, it's just fun to be able to share with other people. And it's fun to take the college students and grow them, and then sad to send them off. But it's the great thing too, because they're always going to remember where they were. And you made an impact on somebody else. It's priceless.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like a lot of people have a misconception about CrossFit in two ways, and I'd love to know your opinion on this. So I think the first way is they only see the people in the games and they're like, holy crap, that's insane. I can't do that. Or I hear sometimes like, oh, well, you're just like flipping tires, or just some of those like extreme, like strongman type things you hear. And while there are competitive athletes that, have dreams of going to the games in the gym, it's not everybody. It's just such a small sample size. So there's those people. And then there's the other people that I've heard from are like, oh, well, you're likely to get hurt. And so those are the two reservations that I hear a lot. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I think those are probably the general reservations. Also, CrossFit about 10, 15 years ago, 20 maybe even, it was all about forging elite fitness. It's still on our side, when in reality, we're trying to forge consistent long-term fitness. Yes, there are people who are competing and want to be elite, but that's the sport part of CrossFit. Majority of people that walk into a CrossFit gym are just looking for workouts as an option to going to a Glovo gym or, a 24/7 open access gym. So there's a difference between those who want to be competitive and those who just want to work out. And being able to explain that is hard, because you got to overcome the conception that everyone is supposed to be cartoon figures. And then the other of getting hurt is up to us as coaches and educators. And the same thing, if you come to a CrossFit gym, expect to be coached, expect to be told what to do, expect to be shown what to do. And then we'll take what you've got and make it to where this is workable for you. So we're not throwing, even though it said that we all do the same thing, or it's not true. The grandmother and the competitive athlete can do the same thing at various levels and adapt it to fit that person, but the actual workout might read the same, but they're not doing the same thing. So those two things, discriminating between the competitor and the regular population, just like the average runner, jogger, people that just jog for fun, and then people that run because they want to race, right? They're not training the same. And it's the same thing in a CrossFit gym. You just only see their stuff on TV, YouTube, or social media. And you have to train. I mean, this is a learning lesson, and it's not something that just happens overnight. So some of these things you get better at over time because somebody's watching you do it. We're not just throwing you to the wolves and saying, hey, you're going to power clean 185 pounds. Good luck. I can't do that. I don't need to do that, but I love the barbell.
Yeah, I think that was beautifully said, of course. And the hope is for somebody that loves what CrossFit does for them and what it's meant to them, in various different ways. I think it's the default of enjoying something is also wanting to share in that joy. And I like earlier when you brought up how you felt like it was connected to golf. I think that's so interesting that you're used to like logging your results and then posting those, because you have a golf background and you compete in golf still. And from a softball background, the reason I loved CrossFit so much was it was that structure of somebody telling me what to do in workouts, just like in college. I remember graduating from college and then trying to figure out workouts on my own. And I specifically remember being in this like little apartment gym in Wilmington, and I had this like towel in between my knees, and I was trying to do these like little curtsy squats, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I remember just like trying to change what I was eating, and it was like I was like thrown to the wolves after having this sense of structure. And so one of the things that I was so drawn to, two things, was one, somebody telling me what to do so I didn't have to worry about it, and two, the competitive aspect of it was like, oh, I can come in here and still beat people and beat myself and win. And that is what fueled me for so long, and still admittedly does.
It does for me too, just at a different level. For the longest time in the beginning, when I first started CrossFit, I would cry after some days because I was so frustrated I couldn't get it and couldn't do it. Before apps, before the phone recorded everything, we kept logs in a little notebook. And there were scratches and cuss words and tears and all kinds of things in there, which is ridiculous. I mean, it's just your workout. But it became my sport at the time. And I am competitive and I like to be really great at something. It looks a little different now than it did 30 years ago, but it's still very much a part of who I am. And it allows me to exert that part of me in two different aspects, golf still and CrossFit.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some big plans that we have? I mean, I know that you're only one person and you have a team, but you can only do so much with like your time and energy. What are some big plans that you have for the gym, or what's the vision? What's coming up next? Where is it going?
Coming up this spring, that is in the foreseeable future, let's say between now and May, it's the rest of the school year, really. We're hosting a pickleball tournament this weekend, which is really fun. I have somebody who took that on and is running it. And so all I have to do is say yes when she asks me questions, which is great. That will be a community event and people can come out and watch or just come have some food and beverages. And it's just a really low key, chill, but fun activity. And then we have the CrossFit Open, which by default is a competition. And so immediately some people are scared. It is just a way to measure yourself against where you were and where you want to go. And it obviously depends on how you feel and what you've been able to do the last year. If you've had distractions, if you've taken a new job, if you started a family, I mean, and it's all relative to where you are. And then we, of course, have the super athletes who are looking to move on, which is super exciting. So that is coming up at the end of February and through the middle of March. And that's on Friday night and then through the weekend. After that, my plan is to host real competition at the end of April, potentially first week of May, something like that. And to invite people from other CrossFit communities to come out or come down, whichever way you're traveling, and participate. Again, this to me is more for fun and the enjoyment of bringing people together than to crown a champion. It's a local event. We're not going to be some giant. But again, bringing athletes together, people who like to compete, give them a day's worth of push myself as hard as I can. And if you're not that person, then come out and cheer on the people that are like those people and participate. And, and it brings people together. And so those are the events, trying to bring on some new equipment. And then we have just a few programs that we're looking to expand. We want some younger parents to come in and bring their little kiddos. Yeah, just constantly wanting to improve the community and the vibe when you come in. I want you to be welcome. I want you to know that we want you to be a part of something really fun.
Yeah, I like how you described like the competition. There are the people that compete, but then there's the people that are there to cheer or like the energy or want to share in the experience. And I think what you're saying is really sweet in that everybody has a space, like everybody has a spot, everybody's invited. And I love that that's how it feels. My final question for you is one that I ask all of our interviews, and it's specific to the Women in the Arena title. And so you're a woman that really goes for what she wants. And even I think it's more impressive talking about holding this vision for so long and then still finding ways to accomplish it with your L2 and then ownership. So what does it mean for you? What is the definition of a woman in the arena in your words?
Go after your goals. Just define them, refine them, write them, keep them in front of your nose, on your bathroom mirror, on your phone, share them with someone so that you have some kind of, you can tell someone when you accomplish either partial or whole, and be proud. Literally, I'm doing what I've wanted to do. And it's on a small scale, but it makes me feel accomplished and makes me know that even though it's been so long, I did it. And whether this is for the rest of my life or for a period, I did it. That's what it means to me.
You did it. And I'm just really thankful to be part of the process and thankful for you for spending time here with us and for pouring into the community, your coaches, the members, everybody in the way you do. So thanks again for being here, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Paige.
I hope today's episode inspired you on your journey in the arena. Make sure to check out the show notes in the description for a rundown of today's show with all the important links. If you enjoyed this, please share with a friend. I know how much it means to me when my friends share podcasts. Leave us a review and let us know it landed with you over on Instagram at Paige_Rene15. As always, your best bet is on yourself.